What's good, YouTube? Back in the video. Thank you for joining the channel here. I have to cover the draft as that was just such an enjoyable experience yesterday. This was the first year where I was locked into college football and the draft, and I had gone into it just trying to learn about the entire process as a whole and all of the players, their stories, where they were projected to go as far as round in tiers. Obviously, this was like the Travis Hunter draft, and the main story, especially on ESPN. It was pretty upsetting that Mel Kiper was probably the main perpetrator. That the ESPN broadcast was kind of hijacked for the Shedeur storyline, as Shedeur Sanders falls out of the first round. It was really ridiculous as there was so much talent yesterday to be celebrated, and the story was framed as Shedeur being shafted by franchises across the league, which I just thought was really ridiculous and out of touch. The NFL Network broadcast was much better in their just lack of bias and giving players their time to shine. As Shedeur could have very well been drafted yesterday, teams passed on him. Now, why? There are many reasons that could be the case, especially in the media recently. The main reasoning has been Shedeur's intangibles, interviews. Obviously, his play, like he was projected to be the second quarterback taken since the beginning of the year, since top of the year, pretty much. And over the draft process, Shedeur has kind of sidestepped it altogether, holding his own cams, not really following protocols, and this has really drove teams the wrong way. Now, I do think it's unfair to simply criticize him, as Shedeur has done great for himself. He's been a great quarterback at Colorado, and the fact that he's still on the board today was extremely surprising, given the fact that many teams, I had originally thought Pittsburgh would take him at 21. They end up passing for Derek Harmon, great player out of Oregon, and I think he's going to be a really good player. But I do want to cover the picks altogether. I just wanted to get the Shedeur stuff out of the way, as I felt like it was really important to not do that, and they found a way to, which was just extremely detrimental to the NFL draft. And I really hope they do not continue to do that today if Shedeur does not go in the first 5 picks, which is going to be happening at 6:30 Eastern. The second round today is going to be the second and third round for day 2. And tomorrow the final 3 rounds will finish out the draft. I'm really excited because my guy, this guy that many was on for a lot of the season, even before the season had begun, Will Johnson out of Michigan. He was probably a projected top 10 pick before the season began. He had some injury issues in last summer. Coming in, he had to sit out. He came back. He got hurt in the USC game. He comes back again, but I think after playing a game or two during the middle of the season, as Michigan just could not find itself, terrible offense, quarterback play was porous. He sits down for the season, and it's clear that he's had major injury issues since leaving the team. And he did not do any workouts. He didn't go to the combine. He didn't run any 40-yard dashes, which is extremely important for the corner position. And his physicals must be in the mud right now. And that's just being honest. Because somebody that was so highly touted going into the year, and even once the year ended, he was still projected as a top 15 pick, to fall completely out of the first round. That has to be due to Adam Schefter has said in social media that it was a knee injury. That was the cause, the main issue that teams had with Johnson. So he's going to be taken in round 2, 100%. And whoever gets them, I think they're going to be getting a great player at a cheap price. It's going to be a steal. Now, the main issue is, can he stay healthy, which we have yet to see, because the NFL is going to be extreme, especially on the defensive side of the ball. These players are playing every down. They're getting hurt much more than offensive players. And on a bad knee as a corner, who is, I would say, not the fastest guy on the field, it's going to be a little scary. So I do think Johnson is going to need to be able to work, take his time. But I think he can be a great player in the league. But I'm just going to go in order, go by group probably every 5 picks or so, give my general thoughts on the teams and their decisions. Now, I don't want to just spew common talking points that I've heard online, from the experts. I do want to try to give, a much more casual take, as I don't have much knowledge in terms of the draft and draft analysts. So I just want to give what I see and think about these players. Some of these guys I have not watched at all. Essentially, very lackluster film. Many of these guys obviously were in the SEC and Big 10, Big 12, like Power 4 programs. Ashton Gency exception, and you see these guys. These are playmakers. These are first round guys. You're going to see these names called over the course of the year. But as far as understanding why they were drafted in the way they were, I'm not going to be able to give you the top information available, which there's going to be a lot of great places for that. But I'm just really excited to talk about it because it was extremely fun. The Packers take Matthew Golden with the 23rd pick. Let's go. I did not think he was going to fall. In the playoffs, he truly made me a believer. Truly turning into Texas' #1 guy. Quinn Ewers' favorite target over the year. Isaiah Bond completely just drops off in the beginning, which everyone thought would be a first-round pick. Golden takes his spot, transferring in from Houston, and was a great player all year. The 4.3 40-yard dash was a nail in the coffin to get him into the first round as probably a top 4-3 receiver. But besides the basic storylines, it was a great moment. Packer fans, Gutekunst finally drafts a receiver in the first round. His last pick in the first round for a wide receiver was before I was even born. I'm out of 09, 2002. It's insane stuff, and it's good change, because I have not been a fan of Brian Gutekunst historically. I truly feel like he was one of the main perpetrators for Aaron Rodgers' decline. I can't say decline because that was mainly age, but just deterioration within the organization, not getting him key position players in his prime, especially in his later prime, getting those MVPs 13 3 years. So I've had my issues. I was not a fan of the Jordan Love pick. Jordan Love is very good. I just don't think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback at the moment, especially when the elite is just so good at the moment. But continually building this roster, giving Love some more weapons, I thought Golden was the perfect pick, and I'm extremely excited to see him wear that Green Bay gold, man. So, but let's just get into these picks, because I really have to talk about them. Going into the first 5, we have Cam Ward out of Miami, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, and Mason Graham. So these were probably the 5 names that we were going to hear at the top of the list. 90% of mock drafts had these 5 names going in some type of order. And Cam Ward, we've known that he'll be #1 going to Tennessee since the season ended, and most likely before then as well. He was probably looked at as in the 5 through 10 range in terms of quarterbacks before this last college football season, but he truly separated at Miami, getting a role, transferring out of Wazoo, where he was extremely fun to watch. I remember in the 2023 campaign at Washington State, where they had started 4-0, I believe. They did not. I don't think they won a game after that. So I'm not sure if they made a bowl game that season, but him and Kyle Washington, who will also be getting drafted in this draft, super exciting. They were just extremely high-flying, high-power offense in the Pac-12, final year of the Pac-12. Rest in peace. And Cam Ward, he's been the best guy all season long and it wasn't really close in my opinion. Just such a great throw of anticipation. The athletic traits are good to great. I'm not sure if they're elite. We have to wait and see at the NFL level. Obviously, he had some bad plays in the season. With the interceptions looked porous and absolutely horrendous in big games as well. Just making bad decisions, being one of the reasons his Miami would get into a hole and have to climb back out. Cal, for example, or Georgia Tech. Those interceptions probably one of the worst interceptions of the year, and could have been one of the main reasons Miami loses these games. But the good heavily outweighs the bad, and these things can get better. Decision making can improve over his first few years of a rookie quarterback, and he's still young. Actually, he's only 22. He played 5 years, so he's going to be 23 before the season begins. But for now, especially in the COVID era, NIL era, 5 years is extremely okay for a guy of his caliber that he still has a lot of upside. And I think Tennessee's going to be good. Like this was the pick. This was the pick they had to take. Will Levis did not cut it. It's going to be sad to see him go. Just so many great moments. The memes were elite all season long with Levis. And I think Tennessee got their guy for the future. He can be a Pro Bowler in my opinion. I just have loved Cam Ward since Wazoo specifically, and seeing him transfer to Miami and get to shine in the number one pick was just super. It was benevolent, man. Going to number 2 pick, Travis Hunter. Now, this was like the big drama of the draft beginning. The Jags find a way to get up into the second spot, and initially, I was just so shocked at Cleveland for letting a guy of this caliber go, because these guys don't come often. Travis Hunter, an elite prospect. I can't throw around generational as easily as we do, especially in sports like the NBA. But I think he's a great player on both sides of the ball. He was the number one guy on the board for many. In my opinion, Abdul Carter was the best player in this year's draft. But Hunter himself was such an amazing player. Getting that Heisman last year, I do think it should have gone to Genty in my opinion. But the Jags, initially I thought this was a great move until I seen the package, and now this can still turn out great for the Jags. Like if Travis Hunter is a great player on both sides, he can be a Pro Bowler. He can be a team altering player, franchise altering player. This can be a great decision. But Cleveland getting the package they did, they got three early picks, first, second round picks. They get the Jacksonville's first round pick in 2026, which has a much better quarterback class on paper. Guys like Nussmeier, Klubnik, Sellers, Levitt, Aller, like a bunch of prospects that we can see, and Cleveland, they're placing their bet. They got a great package, so like they're going to be able to use these picks to get depth. Now they're going to use one of the picks that they got in the second round this season, the draft Shedeur. We will see, but I mean it seems obvious. That's what everybody has said. Cleveland's looking to draft a quarterback in 2026, which in this package to go down 3 spots and still get Mason Graham out of Michigan, I think is good business. Just a very simple math decision, and it made sense looking at the package. So I think Cleveland is in a much safer position because Jacksonville just gave up a ton to get Hunter, and Hunter's their guy. Now they're also betting on Trevor Lawrence, which, man, that contract could be the worst in the league. It's maybe not just because of Watson, but it's up there. $275 million guaranteed for Trevor Lawrence, who's simply not played at a top 10 quarterback level once in his career. And paying a guy that much money is how you sink a franchise. So you got Brian Thomas Jr., who's going to be multiple-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro. He has that Hall of Fame ceiling. So you're getting another weapon for Lawrence, and you got to go. This is it. You got to do it this year. You got to put your foot down and be a good to great quarterback and make that money look decent. And Hunter can do that. I think they've said that he's going to mainly play wide receiver and getting some reps on as a cornerback. And before getting much more reps on both sides of the ball in the near future. But I think Jacksonville, this is a risky pick because they gave up a ton, and there's gonna have to be a certain level of production that they have to reach from Hunter. So exciting player though. Now this is probably the safest pick in the draft, in my opinion. Abdul Carter, my number one guy in the draft, just so elite at so many different things, extremely versatile. The traits 6'3", 250, absolute monster. He was the next guy wearing number 11 at Penn State, and I do not think he was the number one edge at the beginning of the season, but especially in those midweeks around week 5 to week 8, he was starting to get much more buzz, and going to the playoffs, he just completely separated as guys like James Pierce Jr. And Nick Scorton kind of slowly fell. And he absolutely separated and was probably one of the best players in college that I've ever seen. So I've mainly watched college for 4 years now. About 4. I think the first year was probably when Alabama won their final championship of the Saban era in 2020, in the 2021 championship. And he's probably one of the best players I've seen in that time span. He's so fast at that size. He's able to get to the outside extremely quickly on the run. The pass rush he could be generational. Like this is a guy that you don't see often. Like Chase Young was generational in my opinion. He just did not turn out after his great start to his career. Abdul Carter, he's gonna have such a high floor. He's guaranteed All Pro at some point. He's gonna get at least one All Pro, automatic. You can book it. It's guaranteed as a Giant, and he's gonna be a great player for the Giants. Now the Giants get Russell Wilson, and their defense looks very scary with him and Dexter Lawrence. That is such a crazy 2-man monster, and out the box, he's going to be elite. He's going to be a top pass rusher in the league. I do think he's going to be equal to like a Jared Verse type season last year. Jared Verse was just so great coming in that late first round. So, Abdul Carter, he's generational, man. As the Giants, this was such an easy pick to make. You did not have to fall out, and coming back in to get Dart, which we'll talk about in a little while. You have to get this guy on your team. Just so much talent and potential that you have him. You could leave him in on his rookie deal and see what happens. It's that simple. You make the pick and you live with it because you are extremely confident that he's going to be such a great player, and he can be team altering because pass rush is one of the most important things in today's league with mobile quarterbacks. So, there's not much to talk about outside of that. Just all the moves, extremely versatile, the complete package, and easy pick. I will compare this to a Kevin Durant pick in 2007. Now I'm just saying, okay, all right, I'll move on. Will Campbell, this was the controversial one for probably the last week or so, because the Patriots, at least sources according to the experts, that the Patriots wanted to come out of this pick. Because they liked Campbell, but they felt like 4 was a little too high to take Campbell, especially with his short arms, and many think that he's going to be moved to guard in the first few seasons of his career. I watched a bit of his tape at LSU, especially in their big games. He was doing very well with Nussmeier leading the helm at QB, and I don't follow offensive line much until the offseason now. I got a lot more experience learning about the draft process, and offensive line was probably the biggest improvement and understanding and appreciation for. Because like I've always known how important the trenches are in the league, but like at the NFL level, but at the college level, like the trenches dominate, and these guys are the biggest reason for a team's success. And Campbell, at his size, 6'6", 320, I mean, just so impressive. And the biggest thing that I felt was the reason he goes the number one tackle taken, the intangibles, the interviewing was stellar, pristine, and such a great character. I mean, you listen to all of his interviews, even the one after getting drafted yesterday. It was like so inspiring because he just really showed how much people have helped him get to this point, and I think that he's going to be a great player for New England. And New England needed an offensive line somewhere in this draft. You cannot put Drake May behind a weak offensive line, and they've gotten some pieces in the offseason as well. But getting this guy, he's going to slot in there. You hope he plays 10 seasons for you. I think it makes sense. You have to take a tackle here at 4 because the great tackles don't stay long. But going into number 5, concluding like the first part before, and I think going down here we'll kind of speed up a little bit. Mason Graham, Cleveland, coming out of that pick for Travis Hunter, coming down to 5 and still getting a guy of Mason Graham's caliber, who was honestly a great player in his own right. He was probably the bigger one of the two-headed monster with him and Kenneth Grant, both going the top 15 picks. And I'm really impressed that Cleveland they stayed strong, and I should be giving a nod to Graham at the moment, but I do want to give a nod to Cleveland first because they were able to pretty easily, obviously Jacksonville most likely the initiator. They seen Hunter, the new general manager got his guy, and he got aggressive, and he goes up. He lets go of the 5th pick, and Cleveland comes down and get those assets and gets Graham, which is going to be a great guy to support Myles Garrett on that defensive side of the ball. Now the offense still looks like it's in purgatory right now, and I'm not sure where they go. They got to get a quarterback, right? I would think so. Most likely they're going to draft Sanders. At the time of this recording, it is 1:30, so the draft begins once again in 2 hours. And Graham, I mean, just so elite. Obviously the physical traits, like you might not see him as like the most athletic guy, the guy that just controls the tape, completely starstrucks you. Yeah, just the complete package. Like I don't want to say that every time, but he was just so elite at being able to use his mind and IQ as a pass rusher to get past guys that were constantly bigger than him. He's still a great size at 6'4", 300, but he comes off not as agile as guys that are drafted this high. And that's why he probably most likely was lower on some boards, for some mockers. But like just being able to, like, he was much better at the run than the pass. I think that he was probably the weakest. Obviously, he was taken in the 5th. So he was like the weakest player of the top 5. But Cleveland getting a guy, I don't like. Obviously, getting a guy with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is the biggest determining factor for me because do you want to get Mason Graham as probably your number 1 defensive guy in the trenches, like your big body number 1? That is who all the best offensive line plays focus on. Probably not. But when you have Myles Garrett and you can get Mason Graham to be the number 2 on that line, all right, now we're talking. So like the insane stuff from Cleveland to pull that out and be able to maneuver their way into a quarterback next season. But the top 5 extremely elite in terms of like what they accomplished in college, and going to top 6. Another guy, Ashton Genty, man. Absolutely monstrous season, deserving of the Heisman in my opinion. And at Boise State, he stayed loyal to the soil, and he went against the grain, not taking the big money at the big schools, staying in the Mountain West, and becoming the highest player drafted in Boise State history. For the Raiders, this was, I think, the perfect pick because they need to start trying to win now. Running backs don't last long, and you need a running back. They needed a run game in some way, shape, or form. And you got Bowers, Geno Smith. You're trying to win now. Get great early. And I think you're doing the right move here because he is elite. He is generational. Now, I don't want to throw these generational terms around lightly, but I don't think we're going to see a greater running back prospect in the next 5 years. So with Gen T, obviously, at that 5'9" stature, he is still great size, but the contact balance has been touted time and time again. Everyone knows the ability to absorb defenders, stay on his feet, take it to the crib. And with the Raiders, Pete Carroll, I think this is a Pete Carroll pick. You know, you're gonna bring that run game in, an older style offense. Probably most likely some play action mixed in as well with your tight ends. And, you know, Jacoby Myers, I think this is probably the perfect pick for the Raiders. And no one traded up to get Genty, and they didn't have to do anything special to do it. So I say simply extremely impressive, and I really hope he becomes a great player in the league. I really do. Let's see. We got Membu, T-Mac, Kelvin Banks Jr., Colston Loveland, and Michael Williams in the next 5 picks. So let's get the offensive line out of the way first. Membu and Kelvin Banks. You know, Kelvin Banks is probably the offensive tackle 1 at the beginning of the college football season, and he kind of cheated off. You know, he's still the third one taken, I believe. So not much. He was still elite prospect, but Membu, young, and especially at the I believe he went to the Shrine Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, or Senior Bowl. He continued to rise up draft boards as the season went on, and he had a good chance to be the number 1 offensive tackle taken. Now the Patriots ultimately went with Campbell, but Membu this was a floor for Membu, as the Jets were going to take whichever one wasn't taken, because they need offensive line. Like that's the number 1 need. They filled that need. They got Olu Fashanu last season, so they got 2 tackles in back-to-back years in the first round that to rebuild their offensive line. Hope you progress these guys to be great for years to come. And I think this is the perfect pick. Somebody that's extremely athletic. You guys like Breece Hall and Braxton Rice, I believe, out of Wisconsin, the running back out of Wisconsin. To put both extremely athletic outside zone backs, and you're gonna get somebody that's gonna be able to run with them, pancake guys downfield. And remember, it was a great pick. Now McMillan, his name was getting slandered for much of the draft process by multiple teams, media analysts, as somebody essentially saying that he doesn't have love for football, like his passion wasn't there, and you can't take guys with a lack of passion. But in my opinion, that was pretty unfounded. I believe like their main piece of evidence was a video from 3 years ago, and he's much older now. He's grown as a player, and it is simply baffling to put any sort of credit into doing that when he's shown time and time again how good he is at the game of football, and he definitely could have been a top 5 pick. The Panthers, I think, got a great deal, near a steal for a guy of this caliber. And with Bryce Young, he had such a strong ending to the season after sitting behind Andy Dalton for about half the year. He got better and better, and he looked pretty good at the end of last season. With the highlight being the overtime game against the Falcons and Penix, and I believe week 16 or week 17, I believe. And I think he had 5 touchdowns in that game. Bryce, he's ready. He's ready to make a leap, and they're going to get their number 1 guy, in my opinion. Xavier Leggetti out of South Carolina. Um, I just didn't think he was number one built, like he was built to be number one receiver. But I do think T Mac is, and with T Mac as number one receiver, Leggett is going to be able to become that Y guy, the guy that you're going to put on a lot of go balls, post, get deep, use his speed. And Thielen, who's I believe in his 30s, quite a way, so he's on the way out the door, honestly. But he could still be a slot receiver for a couple seasons with Carolina still. And I think it was such a great move to go with Tet and not go with edge. I mean, Jalen Walker was flying up the boards extremely late, Georgia guy, and they don't go a Walker, which was mocked by many people. I mean, there was some that saying Tedrick McMillan could have dropped outside the top 15, top 20, which is ridiculous. And Carolina completely nipped all those theories into the bud, taking them at 8. Great deal. Kelvin, let's see. Colston Loveland, I should say. I think I briefly talked about Kelvin Banks before. Colston Loveland, obviously everyone thought that Ty Warren was going to be the first tight end taken. I think he should have. But I think it makes sense for Chicago with Ben Johnson. He's the big name in the NFL right now. Like, he's like the big young star who hopes to become the next McVay, and he gets a guy that's like Sam Laporta, a more athletic route runner, tight end that is good. Coastal Loveland, he still has a good frame, 6'6", 248, so he's not small by any means, not at all. And I think earlier in the year his draft grade was quite a bit worse. Like, obviously he was still good. Like many people still thought he was a first round guy, but it was probably in the 20s. So it was probably the last 3-4 months or so that he got into the teens, and he gets up to 10 and becomes the first tight end taken, which, Tyler Warren, who falls to the Colts, where he was not going to fall any further than this because the Colts are going to take one of the two. Obviously, it was a similar situation like the Jets and the Saints. Get those tackles, but get these tight ends, as these guys were far and away the number 1 and 2 guys. And the Bears, they're going to get a guy that's going to be with them for a long time. I truly believe in Coastal Loveland's talent. He can be a quasi Travis Kelce type guy. Maybe not the same guy, because there's no one ever like Travis Kelce, really. But I think he has the potential to just add to so much, has already so much talent in Chicago. And now he's going to be in line to really start this expedient rebuild in Chicago, who's going to try to become a playoff team and a contender in the next 2 seasons at most, really. And with Ben Johnson at the helm, this team is almost ready. I'm going to see what starts in the first half of this upcoming season, 2025, but they're just extremely stacked. Mykel Williams makes a lot of sense, a young guy out of Georgia. I like them quite a bit more than Jalen Walker. Edge, and that was probably the story, right? Mike Green was the undisputed number 2 for many. Maybe not undisputed, because, guys like James Pierce Jr. or Mykel Williams was looked at as number 2 in some boards, but many have Mike Green as the number 2 edge, especially what he did at the Senior Bowl. But whatever's going on with the sexual assault allegations, that has to have some merit to it, because he was not taken at all in the first round. And a guy of his talent, especially with no injuries or anything like that, the Will Johnson thing I can understand, but there must be some serious parting with the lawsuits and crimes. I don't know what's going on with Green. He's 100% going to be taken on day 2 if he's still able to be drafted, but the allegations, such people just were not a fan of that. And going with Mykel Williams, he fits their defense, in my opinion. It's a safe pick. The 49ers, they need edge. Their guys are getting old. Nick Bosa is still one of the best defensive guys in the league. But the 49ers are on the way out. Like Deebo Samuel goes to Washington this offseason, and they're gonna pay Brock Purdy, so they need to hit on draft picks, or it's completely done. You could throw it in the garbage if they do not hit on these upcoming 2 drafts, so this year and next year. as they're going to pay Brock a lot of money, and the 49ers expect to compete for championships. Tyler Booker, this was probably the extremely surprising one. Many thought the Cowboys were going to take a skill position player. Jerry Jones is known for making big time moves, so going with a guard here. Tyler Booker out of Bama. He was such a great personality in the draft with the way he comes up and high stepping to go grab his cap to the stage. It was extremely exciting, and you could tell he really loved this moment. And I'm extremely happy for the guy. Now, I think he works for the Cowboys more than other teams, right? Because the Cowboys are known to get like their power backs, the ones that are gonna go up the middle. So having guys in the middle get those guards, as well as tackles, but like guard the Cowboys is like not exponentially, but even more so important than other average teams. So I think getting Booker here, I think Zabel was the pick, honestly. If you want a guard, I think they should have gone with Zabel. But great pick is Omar out of Bama. You know, they're going with the Bama talent, more higher strength of schedule, more caliber of opponents on a weekly basis. So you get Booker, who I think is going to have a really good career. Will he make a second rookie contract? I'm not sure from what I've seen at Alabama, but I think this was a good pick. Maybe not a great pick in my opinion, but they could have definitely been worse. So I think Booker was fine. We have Kenneth Grant, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, Walter Nolan, and Shamar Stewart. Kenneth Grant I talked about before, as well as these two. So we could simply go to Walter Nolan and Shamar Stewart. These guys, D tackle and edge. Shamar Stewart, he was a trades guy, and simply put, I'm not a fan. I'm just not. People have already been burned on the Trayvon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau, the Anthony Richardson. These guys that just show crazy traits at the combines and get drafted high. Like Anthony Richardson is simply ridiculous. It was a ridiculous pick then. It's a ridiculous pick now. And the Colts, I'm not even a Colts fan, but I'm just disgusted because they was in such a great position with Jonathan Taylor. And you got a guy that simply cannot throw a football. He's not an accurate passer in the NFL. He's not an NFL starting quarterback. And the Colts, I mean, what did they do? You got to stick with Richardson to the end of the rookie deal because those are free years. You got to use them up nicely. But yeah, the trades guy, you have to show some type of production at the college level because very extremely rarely you're gonna see guys that they don't show trade at a college level, and that are just gonna randomly become, not saying randomly, but that are going to usurp and flourish in the NFL. Like I'm thinking Jordan Mailata out of Philadelphia, who came from Australia, did not have any experience in football, but his size and just physical gifts allowed him to become one of the best linemen in the league, bar none. Easy. So I was not a fan of the Shamar Stewart pick. Walter Nolan, great player. Ole Miss. Okay, and also I do want to go back to Shamar because I'm not discrediting him. I think he was good at Texas A&M, but he was just not worth this high of a pick in my opinion. He was much closer to Nick Scroton, teammate. But you know the combine numbers were sensational. So the Bengals go with the traits. They're betting on that guy, and we'll see. But Walter Nolan going to Arizona, I thought this was a steal. Still, he could have been drafted top 10, honestly, with this much talent at his size, 296, 6'4", so athletic. Like you would not think that he's 300 pounds with how fast off the line of scrimmage he's able to move so swiftly up the middle through gaps. Has these elite traits of the bull rush is awesome, absolutely awesome. And I mean, just so much hunger. You could see the drive playing at Ole Miss that he showed over the season, and I think this is a simple, clean pick from the Cardinals, a position that they needed to draft, as it's been weak for the last few seasons, honestly. And the Cardinals, Now, I do think they're a bit of ways away. I'm not a big fan of Kyler as like a playoff winning quarterback. He's going to sell tickets every single year. But Walter Nolan, this is going to be a great start to really get your defense back at a contending level. That's the first half. So, short break, and I'm gonna come back with the second half. In 3, 2, 1. I'm just getting to this at the recording at 12 a.m. So it's been a long day, and that was a insane draft, day 2. And obviously Shedeur is the story, as he should be, in my opinion. He should be the central story. I do feel like initially it was blown out of proportion, but as time ran on and quarterbacks began to be taking over him significantly, guys like Jalen Milroe, Dylan Gabriel, it has to be something behind the scenes, something that we do not know much about, or teams just really didn't see him as a fit on their roster. I do want to get into the latter half of the first round for the video, and then at the end, I'm going to be covering, certain things I want to touch on, like big storylines, and also the Packers picks over the first 2 days before going into day 3, as I feel like that would be a great addition for the channel. So let's just start rattling them off, because I do want to get through these somewhat quickly. We have Gray Zabel, North Dakota State, underrated guy. He came on late. Emeka Buka, Jay Barron, Derek Harmon, and Omarion Hampton. So going back up to Gray Zabel, I mean, this guy, North Dakota State, so I believe that is an FCS school, if I'm not mistaken. So as with the extremely lackluster competition comparatively to like the stars that are drafted this high, you would be completely surprised at like how he's made a name for himself to be the 18th guy off the board in this stacked class. Like, obviously, in years past, many say that like the top talent is not as talented as say last year's or even the year prior, but there's a lot of depth in this mid-range going into like late second round, early third round, that there was a lot of great players for teams to wait on. But Zabel, coming out of NDSU, he really had to make a name for himself in the off season. So he goes to the Senior Bowl, just absolutely dominates top competition, and this is the reason at the guard position. This is the reason that he's made a name and able to be drafted in the 18th spot. One of the best weeks at the Senior Bowl you will ever see, honestly, especially from a guy that's at a mid-major, smaller school. So obviously he was known even at NDSU during the season by those like those that really know. But I say like the casual viewers, or even the semi-casuals that don't know, especially about the smaller name players. He really started to come on strong late, and he was an enticing pick probably for the Cowboys as well. He does fall to Seahawks. Seahawks is in a great spot with Sam Darnold. I think the line here, he could be a great guard for years to come. I think he's an automatic Pro Bowler. He's one of these safe draft picks in this draft. So I think one of the cleanest draft picks of the round. Emeka Buka, I was a little surprised of this pick, honestly, from Ohio, from the Buccaneers, as obviously the Lad McConkey here. Many have also said he looks like Chris Godwin as well. He's a classic slot receiver that is going to be able to play up the seams and run those digs and get some yak yards, but I still think Chris Godwin and Mike Evans still have juice in the tank. And getting Emeka Buka when your team is good now, I think you should want to win now. I'm not sure if this was the play. Now, if depending on injuries, and I don't know if Chris Godwin will come back, Emeka Buka can have an impact early. But for this pick to truly be valuable, in my opinion, you're going to need to see Emeka be really good in his first couple of seasons at the minimum, because your defense is extremely good. A couple pieces that is a top 5 defense, most likely. Baker has been great the past 2 seasons, and it looks like he's going to be great for the next 2 years also. So now picking the wide receiver here, I do think they should have went with a defensive player. And if they wanted to go offense, um, I'll say a line as well. So I I mean, great player, great character. I have no shade against him. I'm just not sure if the pick was worth it, especially when we have guys like Luther Burden and Matthew Golden, who I do think are better receivers. But sometimes character over traits and talent, and they go with the guy that they feel like is an automatic great player, in their system. So shout out to the Buccaneers, but I am a little skeptical compared to many of the picks I've talked about before. Jahdae Barron, another one. I think this was the perfect spot for him, because of his, I would say, limited abilities. Maybe I shouldn't say limited, but his specialty is in a certain style of defense that the Broncos run almost more than anyone. He's able to be that true slot corner, against teams that are running 3-4 skilled players on the outside, and being that slot corner in zone, making some zone reads, using your ball skills to get the interceptions. I think the Broncos, it's a little high for me on Barron. Arms aren't that great of length, honestly. His speed is not there. Agility is all pretty average. Like they check the boxes slightly, but I didn't see like his big talent was in his IQ and his ability to understand where the ball was going on the field, how to position himself to make great plays. So I think it's fine. It's a good pick from Denver. I think it's a good, maybe not great pick. It can become a great pick if Barron can progress over his rookie contract. But in this spot where the Broncos did make the playoffs last year, extremely impressive from Bo Nix and company. I think Barron was a fine pick. I'm just not sure if it was the best one. I still would have gone to Marion Hampton, get that running back. But they do go with RJ Harvey in the third round or second round, I think, actually. Now, here, this is one of the big moments of the draft. Derek Harmon out of Oregon to the Steelers instead of Shedeur Sanders. Now, many, especially once the Saints passed and took the lineman as they should have, that this would be the Shedeur Sanders landing spot. And I did as well. But I'm not sure if it was Tomlin management, but someone in that organization was not feeling Sanders at the 21st pick, and they go with a guy that is proven, great size, 6'5", 313. He is a polarizing player. Like, he's going to be quite high or quite low on different boards depending on who you find it from. But he's make a great pick at he's going to be able to really get up the inside in that D tackle spot, using his physical ability. I wouldn't say he has a ton of moves in pass rush, but the run defense is elite, and being able to get through gaps quickly, get to the quarterback, especially as the Steelers continually build this defense back up to what it once was. I'm extremely impressed with the Steelers for not taking Sanders at this spot, but I do think they should have took Sanders somewhere in day 2. Like at least that is what I feel should have happened. Going back, okay, Marion Hampton. I mean, this was okay. Let's see. I did cover the other players up here. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yes, I mean, Marion Hampton. He was really close to Genty in my opinion in terms of top RB, and just so explosive, so versatile, great pass blocker, the prototypical, I shouldn't say prototypical, but a good to great receiver out of the backfield for most running backs in the league, and he's going to be able to impact the game in multiple ways immediately, just with the size. At 6 foot 220, he is buff. Like, he has a good build for this league. And the speed and quickness, as well as the vision, right? Like the vision is elite, maybe the best in the class. Breece Hall is the comp given by ESPN's Matt Miller. Now, I can't really give comps because my knowledge, especially even with newer guys, extremely limited, as you struggle to place a focus, especially on like non-premium positions. So players in the trenches, players like the running back, safeties. It is much harder to truly get a feel for their game, in my opinion, unless you do have that extensive knowledge on how to be able to filter, understand what comes from where and why. But like Hampton, I think he's going to be an all-pro easily in his sophomore or junior season. easily. And he could be a Pro Bowler here in his rookie year because he is that good. He is going to be able to play, do run after the catch, find the holes, get in the gaps, hit the outside, and take it to the crib. This is a great pick, classic hardball pick. You know, your O-line is good now. You're still getting pieces in the offseason. And you're getting somebody to go behind that O-line with Justin Herbert, get him some help in the run game with Ladd McConkey. This was one of the best picks of the round. Now, I talk about Matthew Golden. I mean, probably the perfect pick for me. This is the guy that I've wanted for so long, and the fact that we did not have to trade up to get him, extremely impressive from Gutekunst. But he did make some questionable decisions while we talking about at the end of the video. So now we have Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, JPJ out of Tennessee, Rakia Jackson's boyfriend, Malachi Starks, and Tyreek Williams out of Ohio State. So should I talk about the two Ohio State boys in tandem? I think both of these guys are okay. So Tyreek Williams is a D tackle. I didn't watch him as much as Donovan Jackson, like knowing who they were, and he was part of that elite pass rush. Was probably the best in the country of any team, and getting drafted in the first round shows his talent. 6'3", 334. So, and in that inside D line position, there's not going to be many that can match his size and speed to go with it. Great measurables. And obviously they're talking about run blocking here, and you can easily imagine it. When I think about the pass rush, I'm thinking about T.Tuimoloau, Caleb Downs. So that in that inside pass rush, the inside pressure brought on the offensive team had to begin for someone, and Tyreek Williams was a big asset to their success, especially come playoff contention. Now going back up to Donovan Jackson. Now I did get to watch a bit of Donovan Jackson over the course of the year, knowing that it was Donovan Jackson. And at 6'4", 315, offensive guard, you know, the guards went high, and many said like the offensive line was going to get taken quickly this year because of like the lack of depth in this class. And Jackson, at the size and being able to play that guard spot on either side, I believe he played left guard in college. I do think it's quite high for his like level of player, his tier, not personal tier, just what I feel. So maybe it is my personal tier, but I'm not based on any consensus. I think he should have probably went early second round in the 40s, so 24. I'm not sure. I think this guy can be a great player for you. But just taking these non-premium positions like guards and running backs in the first round, when a risk that a risk these guys could not turn out, is extremely concerning for me. But they were confident in their guy. They take him, no regrets, and like they're ready to advance in the division. And the NFC North is stacked, continuously loading up on talent. And this guy only adds to the case, especially in the trenches, where teams are going to have to compete with Detroit and now Chicago as well. The pick can go either way, honestly. Jackson Dart, right? Like this is where we thought Shedeur was going to go. The Giants trade up, but as the week went on, experts started discussing how Dable liked Jackson Dart more than Shedeur as his main guy, and this caused some disputes between him and the personnel office or agency. They end up leaning towards Dart, taking him in that spot, trading up, which is I thought was fine, but trade up for the 25th pick when you have guys like Tyler Shough available, and Jackson Dart still could have fell to you in that second round. I'm not sure where they drafted. If they drafted late in the second round, they could have drafted early into the second round and saved some resources. I think Dart was a great player at Ole Miss. He made little mistakes, and he made some game losing plays over the course of the year, but that happens for any to almost all uniform quarterbacks. So I think it's okay that the Giants take a shot at here, but especially with the great class coming out next season, at least on paper, this is like the next greatest thing since sliced bread. We cannot guarantee anything on any class because we don't know how these players are going to turn out here, especially going into next year where we have complete lack of knowledge. So any type of stance or substance put into something like that, I think it's just sort of disingenuous. But Dart was good. Like the height, 6'2", 223, great build. I think that he's going to be a great player. Like playing behind 90 video, Russell Wilson can be an issue, especially in the locker room for a while for your rookies. That's why you're constantly losing them. But Dart himself in that locker room hopefully can learn positively from Wilson and summon him. Jesus, I got completely off track. That they can elevate him to a level that they think that he could be quite early into his career. James Pierce Jr. and Malachi Starks, we could bunch both of these up. Now the Falcons trade up after getting Jalen Walker in the middle of the first round. This was simply ridiculous. Like the Rams felt great about it. They're getting a first round pick next year just to come out of the late first round pick this year. The James Pierce Jr. must have been their guy, but if that was the case, why do you go for Jalen Walker? Because you're scared that Pierce is going to fall? Then that just didn't work. It simply did not work. They ended up getting both of these guys, but on that value, the 15th pick was not worth it whatsoever. So, simply put, like Pierce, he had some character issues, as many said, but his on the field tape was gorgeous. He was like the complete package. Has so many techniques that he pulls out on the throw of a dime. And he was able to, especially in the SEC with greater competition, to show that, and coming at the combine with the great measurables. So elite athlete, absolutely amazing athlete, one of the best in the draft, and this is why his stock rose. The Falcons made an extremely questionable trade. Just being honest. Finishing out the draft, we have Josh Conley Jr. out of Oregon, Maxwell Harrison, and I want to stop here because I have to shout out Harrison. He was so supportive of all the players in the green room yesterday, dapping up everyone that got their names called in each round, in each draft pick, and at the very end, him getting on the team was kind of the vindication needed for the whole ceremony. So shout out to Harrison, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, and Josh Simmons, injured old tackle out of Ohio State. Now, Connolly Jr., he was getting a lot of buzz during Senior Bowl time, and while he didn't really climb into that top 3 contention in terms of offensive line that many hoped he would, he still was a great talent, late first round pick in the Commanders, who can definitely use him early on with their injury issues. I think this is a great pick. This can be a steal if they use him right. Maybe not in his first year, but year 2, year 3, have him ready at the NFL level with basic NFL concepts. And you got somebody that's on the ground and running, super hungry. He's going to fight out there for the quarterback, and it's going to be extremely difficult to get Jaden Daniels, even after all of the additions to their offensive line. So shout out to Connolly. He put in a lot of work out of Oregon, extremely young. He got a lot of talent in him. Harrison, besides the fact of him supporting all the guys in the green room yesterday, he was an extremely talented player himself. Cornerback, I do think this is extremely high for Maxwell Harrison. Like Matt Miller had him ranked 18th. I think that's ridiculous. Especially with the guys like Darian Porter and Sharon Revelle and Benjamin Morrison as well. Injuries can play a large part, but Harrison, the player, I do think was drafted way too high. But the Bills, it looks like they wanted this guy, obviously. They never traded down. They were waiting their turn to see if he could fall. And they got him 5'11", 183. So he's quite small for the top tier cornerback talent that you would see in measurables. So I don't know. Jahad Campbell, Alabama. Now, this was a great pick. Obviously, it looks like injuries lowered his stock not nearly as much as Johnson's did, but somewhat, and he goes from outside the top 20 to 31, and how he does it again. He trades up one spot to get Campbell to add on to the already super team defense. So, I mean, he just keeps on winning. He doesn't stop winning. And year after year, they're making these great picks that are going to play an immediate impact on the game. There's not much like he was an extremely great instinctive player. He may not have always been super on point with decision making, but he's so gifted athletically, so many talents that you could really tap into as a general manager in an offensive coaching system that with Campbell and defensive coaching system, I should say, as well. This is going to be a great approach to the Eagles. Like they're getting better and better every year. How is this possible with just how much they completely fleeced the league last season? They're starting to do it again, and I'm extremely confident in Jahad Campbell's ability, and what he's going to pull off in the league is going to be something special at that linebacker position. And finally, finishing out the first round, we had Josh Simmons, and he had top 10 potential, like top 10 hype, honestly. The injury completely riddled the campaign and leaving it renderless, and not pointless because he still had that value in campaign. Yeah, he still had that value as a tackle, and in this spot, like this is almost a steal because somebody that's going to go much higher because of injury issues, similar to the Will Johnson debacle early in the second round. I think the Chiefs, great pick. They needed a tackle on their O-line, as that's been a problem, especially when you're going against the Eagles likely multiple times in the next 5 years. You need to get guys in the trenches as they have the best, bar none. So Simmons, great pick, honestly, big time steal. And that ended the first round, which is a great first round going to day two. I'm not going to cover those in the video as a whole. I can give some major takeaways. First, I can talk about the teams that the Packers drafted and so far. So we've drafted 3 players, so there's not a lot to talk about. Matthew Golden, obviously, we talked about before. Anthony Belton, I did not like this pick. I feel like we should have picked a corner, and the fact that we have not picked a corner or edge rusher, when those are most likely our 2 biggest needs in this draft class, is classic Brandon Gutekunst. I want to give you credit for the O-line, I do, but it just doesn't work. It's not going to cut it. I have no problem against Anthony Belton. He's a great player. He did a lot for North Carolina State this past season in the ACC. And they won multiple games, but with this weaker talent, you got to get your needs early. In that third round and fourth round was primed for the Packers to make great moves up or make great picks with the picks that they already had. And they take a tackle, and we already have a ton of tackles whose roles are going to be split, trying to get PT. So I was not a fan of this pick. I feel like we definitely should have gotten somebody on the defense side of the ball, and it's only exponentially increased with Savion Williams as a TCU. We don't need a receiver. I'm not as low on Christian Watson as others are, in my opinion. And with Golden, Dobbs, and Christian Watson, this core is going to be fine. Getting Savion Williams, who could turn into a guy that has that speed threat. I believe he did some sprinting in high school. So, I mean, this pick was fine, I guess. Wide receiver. We did not need it. We still have not picked the defensive side of the ball, which tomorrow, our next pick is the 22nd pick of the 4th round. So this has to be a defensive player, either edge rusher or corner, or we're going to have real issues, Gutekunst, because you're doing it again. You're using like one page to cover all of the different subjects and topics. And I don't know where you go from here, honestly. So please draft a corner or edge rusher. That is all I want for this team, to truly take it to the next level, and we could finally compete with Detroit and Minnesota, because right now we just look like a distant third comparing those two. But yeah, I mean, the overall first round was extremely simple. And what I mean by simple, we had the big surprises like the Travis Hunter trade. That was like the surprise of the draft, most likely. But a lot of teams held strong in their decisions. They've been scouting for months, weeks, and some even just a few days. But they know that's who they wanted to take, who they wanted to draft, bring into their system, and become a game changer. Simple as that. Become a game changer. But I just don't know if Savion Williams was the pick. Now, I do want to give some shout outs to the QB debacle with Shedeur, which I think has been blown out of proportions, because obviously, like, you want to feel bad for Shedeur. You feel like he's getting disrespected because of something, whether it's on field play, off the field issues, dad control. We don't know as viewers. I lean to it being something just not with his play up to par of a first year starter, and they don't want to draft early for a backup, so you can let him fall, and you're going to be able to get either Sanders or someone of a similar caliber later in the draft. So I think playing me, it's completely fine. Now, looking at the guys that were drafted, Dillon Gabriel and Jalen Milroe, no one could have seen that coming over Shedeur Sanders. Mel Kiper's most likely was the embarrassing lobbying that you will ever see at a draft combine or draft show, where so much of the broadcast was simply complaining about how teams were screwing Shedeur over, which I thought was so wrong, disrespecting the lives and treatment of these guys that fought and did so well. And everyone deserves that chance, Shedeur especially as well. But I don't think it was like unjustified, disgusting, or anything of that nature. I just think it was a bad game, bad location to vote for. So like, that's simple for me. Dillon Gabriel, great player, southpaw, and Jalen Milroe. I mean, those guys are extremely similar, and one's going to the Seahawks. I do think Jalen Milroe is in one of the best situations as a quarterback that you can have. Your predecessor's on a 3-year deal now. You get to wait behind on the sideline to learn the playbook, get used to the script calling, and man, it's going to be extremely exciting for so many of these guys. You see that ones that we've known in college for so long now. And this is a carousel. It's going to happen every single year. So you have to be prepared for it and understand, like, no matter where you are in the draft, you can get somebody who's going to benefit your team in some way, shape, or form. So, I mean, the first round was great, but otherwise, like, that'll do it for me. It was a lot of brief conversation about the whole thing as a whole, and it's going to be the main conversation tomorrow as well. Shout out to Cam Ward. Guys were drafted early, like they showed their poise, their character, and understood when it was time to come and play, and they learned how to flip it off with a switch. So maybe Sanders can do that in the near future, but I just don't see him as a Titans quarterback at the moment when they drafted Cam Ward number 1. So I mean, wow, there's going to be a lot to it. Maybe the Steelers finally take a shot at Sanders in round 4. Where are they at? Are they in round 4? Let's see. What am I looking? Round 4. Here we go. Steelers, yes, 21 in round 4. So they're going to be fine. There's a lot that comes to it, getting better, and I think they're going to be just fine. Sanders, he's going to have to come in, probably back up, and be a little bit more humble. Like, obviously, a humble pie is not something that you want to see every single time. But there was a lot of bad moments, controversial moments, things that got him into incidents off the field. And especially with Deion, with the whole, like, choosing the team debacle, doing the Manning thing, doesn't work in 2024 with NIL. And they're paying the price. So that's the result there. But otherwise, everyone, thank you for watching the channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. This was a really fun video to make. Just ask me any questions, give me your takes. What do you think about the picks, the players, and how to adjust it going forward in terms of teams and players themselves. Thank you for watching, everyone. You guys have a good night. Bless, and peace out.